What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the latest episode of Games Up Podcast at E3 2017. Not actually at E3 2017, obviously.
What? Maybe one day?
Maybe, yeah. Hopefully one day. But covering E3 2017, and we have just finished watching the Microsoft E3 press conference, so let's talk about this shit show. Lewis, initial thoughts?
So they showed a few things that get me excited about games in general.
Yeah.
Nothing that gets me excited about the Xbox.
Couldn't agree more. As somebody who was super excited to go into this conference because we knew nothing, as somebody who was super excited to be like, wow, yeah, I totally want to see what Xbox has got planned for the next few years. Xbox has fuck all planned. That's basically what's coming out of this. But we'll go through it. We'll go through it in a reveal fashion, so going through everything that was revealed in the order it was revealed, and we will talk about our responses to them. So we started with a trailer for the Xbox Scorpio, or whatever it was going to be called, and announced that it was not called Xbox Scorpio. So then they went on to reveal what the Xbox Scorpio will be called, and it's the Xbox One S.
X.
Sorry, X.
Oh, you've done it already.
Well, there's the problem. There is the problem, is it's Xbox One and then letter, which is just stupid. Honest to God, you should have just called this the Scorpio. Everyone knows it by the name the Scorpio. It's been hyped up by the name of Scorpio, and then you're like, no, it's Xbox letter. Why? What is the point? It's got such a unique brand identity, and it had it for a year. They had a console that didn't exist for a year that everybody was excited for, and now it's the Xbox Wonks.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to appreciate that, their logo, the Xbox logo already is an X. So, I mean, you are basically sacrificing any sort of unique branding, any sort of unique style this had.
I get that this is a way of saying, hey, it's part of the Xbox One family, but we don't really need that. Nobody is buying this to be like, wow, I really want an Xbox One that's good. You either want an Xbox that plays games really well or an Xbox One S. It's not the same product. You don't have to try and save the market share from it. You just need to sell Xboxes.
Yeah.
Name it what it is. Name it something that is exciting and interesting and gets people. Don't just give it a generic name, and it's got such a generic name.
Yeah.
So it's called the Xbox One X, and somehow it's smaller than the S, which I really don't like.
Yeah, it worries me. Especially I don't know your reasons for not liking it, but in my opinion, I worry just because of the problems that Microsoft have had in the past with consoles and overheating, and putting everything in a smaller box and with more power is a little bit...
Right, that's exactly my worry.
Yeah.
The other reason I really don't like this is because there's no need for it. I don't think anybody was expecting this to be a small footprint. I think people would be totally okay with it being a larger footprint than the One S, especially for what it does. It doesn't need to be small. It doesn't need to be pushing those boundaries. I would rather that I sit a console that's substantial and know it's stable down. Yeah. Also, I think it looks ugly.
Yeah, no,
it's just a big block of black.
I was quite surprised because it looks probably more... It looks more like a PS4 than it looks like an Xbox One.
The dev kits look nicer than the actual console. That frames per second screen is a little gimmick and it's stupid, but it's something that makes the console feel next gen. And I don't know, it just looks like a box right now.
Yeah, totally.
They said that, so they spent about 10 minutes going over the techie specs, which fell totally flat. If you're interested in the techie specs, the likelihood is that you watched Digital Foundry and Eurogamer's coverage about a month ago, which detailed exactly the same stuff. I don't think it helped anything. I really don't think it sold the console any better. They explained that all accessories and games would work, which is nice, I guess, but there aren't a huge amount of peripheral games that have been sold this far, so it's not a big difference. It's just a nice nod to the people who already own Xboxes.
Yeah, and I mean, it being in the same family, I didn't really ever expect it not to play the games or not to play the peripherals. I mean, you said I didn't really think about the peripherals, so it doesn't tend to be my thing as much, but we expected it to play the same games, at the very least.
Yeah. And then they explain that it does super sampling. So cool. It's basically anti-aliasing. Basically, it will render the game at 4K and then display it lower.
Yeah, so
on a 1080p TV, for example.
As someone who does this on my high-powered computer,
#humble brag.
It works really well, and it makes games look a lot nicer. It does fix jaggedy edges, which are the bane of any game.
Yeah. So then they talked about it being the smallest Xbox ever, and then we moved on to the reveal of Forza 7.
Woo! Woo!
Awesome. It looks great. Forza Horizon. It's not Horizon. Sorry, it's just Forza Motorsport 7. Looks great. It looks like a Forza game. There are cars. They do the racing. Didn't look anything different than a Forza game. Like it looked like a game where there are cars that do racing along roads and stuff. But if you're into Forza, you are into that. So that speaks directly to you.
Yeah.
Then the shit got weird, and shit got weird in a kind of train off the rails way. Then they announced that they were revealing a car for the first ever time ever seen anywhere, and they put a car on stage again. Microsoft, if somehow our little humble podcast here ever gets to your ears, I speak on behalf of everyone, and I have consulted with them. Stop doing that shit. Nobody is watching E3 for a fucking car. Nobody in the world is more convinced to play Forza because there's a fucking Porsche on stage, and nobody in the world is more convinced to buy that Porsche because it's in Forza.
Yeah,
like that marketing deal makes no sense.
One of the other things, actually, I think you were a bit too angry at the time to notice, is that the person presenting did actually spend like a good minute or so talking about the car,
right?
Like literally doing an advert for the car at the same time, you know?
This was clearly a Porsche marketing deal, and it's stupid. It's so stupid.
Yeah. And like it didn't add anything, so why? Yeah, it is very irritating. In terms of the game,
tilt your head down.
Okay. In terms
That's perfect.
Yeah, okay. In terms of the game, like it didn't really get my attention. Like even the gameplay that they showed of it didn't really look great. I mean, I know obviously this is like their core games. It's one of their core games. It's one of the things they do a lot. But it still didn't catch me, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you're into Forza, you know what this game is, and you know why you're likely to play it or not. Forza's at the top of the game in terms of racing games, like it dominates that scene, so I have no particular worry that this won't be a successful game, or it won't be well regarded, but we got an announcement of a Forza game, which is like, it's like, yeah, that's like the minimum of what we were expecting, right? Announced with a car, stupid. Utterly stupid. It's like a relic from E3 gone by. Stop it. Just stop it. Then there was like... So then Phil Spencer came on and talked about how they're really excited to partner with really exciting games and bring lots of innovative stuff to Xbox One X. And then we got the trailer for finally a new game that we didn't know about that's an actual reveal. It's in no way exclusive to Xbox at all. It was just a reveal of Metro Exodus, which looked awesome.
Yeah, so Metro is a game that's done well in the past. This one will do well, I'm certain. And it looked really good. It looked really exciting. It looked, as someone who's played the other games, it looked like what I want from a Metro game. Yeah, I think like it will do well, and it looks nice. So good, but yeah. The
trailer was really great. The way that it went from cinematic to gameplay to it was really nice. It was very, very polished. The lighting and the actual graphics of the game looked beautiful. And the tone that it set was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, it did what I want from most game trailers, is this mix between a cinematic and then maybe very scripted, obviously, but like cinematic gameplay mix. Because it's never full gameplay, you know, this kind of stuff. It's never fully, that's what the game's like. But at Metro, actually, it does have kind of a standard for actually keeping things fairly cinematic throughout, even in their gameplay. But they did have an interesting choice of music to go along with this.
They used In the House in a Heartbeat, which is a very famous song from 28 Days Later. It's the one that it's like a very piano, keyboard, guitar-y led thing. And it's been used in Kick-Ass and Doctor Who and a whole bunch of stuff. It's kind of the generic horror movie music now. It's like in everything. It fitted fine though, and it looked good, and it built up tension in the right way. Kind of looks like Metro's going open world now, which I like. I am an advocate for open world games. You are the opposite.
Not necessarily. I think open world sometimes takes away from story. That's all.
Yeah, and that's fair enough, and I can understand the thought there. But I think it's I don't know. I think that when a story is told well in an open world, it makes it better. But nonetheless, that was one of the big first reveals. And the next big reveal we got was Assassin's Creed Origins. Thank God. Like, this game has now been revealed officially, so nothing is leaked anymore. It's just, like, thank God that we don't have to keep finding out about stuff through leaks of the game that aren't official. Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's good to actually see this game properly. It's been revealed now. You know, we knew everything about it, or at least a lot about it. You know, you excited for it?
Yeah, definitely. I really like the look of this. The trailer revealed a lot of kind of stuff in terms of the mechanics. Like, there's an eagle that literally flies with you and is your kind of buddy, much like it was in Far Cry Primal. And you can use it to scope stuff out and find targets and that jazz. I kind of like that as an origin mechanic of the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and why they're tied in with the eagle so much and where eagle sense comes from. I like that. I'm not sure about the narrative of the game. I would have liked more in terms of what this actually is and how it ties into the franchise or doesn't. Quick aside, we've talked about it already, but Origins is a terrible title. Like, call it Assassin's Creed Empire, call it Assassin's Creed... Hell, even just call it Assassin's Creed Egypt. Like, Origins is such a generic title at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully... I don't know. Like, hopefully this pushes it out, because I think Assassin's Creed needs to get back its swing, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't, like, I was saying before, like, I don't know whether this is going to be the Assassin's Creed that brings me back to the series, you know? And every game I see, like, when I saw the trailer for Unity, I thought this will be the one, this will do it. And it didn't really. So I find it really hard to judge whether I'm going to enjoy an Assassin's Creed game based on trailers, and like from this, it's still hard to tell.
That's very fair. That's very fair.
But they did show off a lot of features. They showed off a lot of cool graphics and stuff. But the thing that I actually really liked is they showed off maybe like a bit of a change to the equip system.
Oh yeah, that's true. They showed like an RPG style kind of leveling system, both in terms of the gear and in terms of the character. So from rumored stuff and leaks, it seems like there's 3 kind of paths you can go down leveling to each one. And that somehow applies to the gear as well. So there's some like different levels of gear, and you can use different stuff for different strengths and perks depending on what level you are. Kind of generic RPG-ish, kind of Soulsy, kind of, but not Soulsy in an actual combat sense, just in a kind of level sense. Other than that, yeah, it looked really good. It looked very different for an Assassin's Creed game. It didn't look different enough that it's... Like, this game has been talked about as the kind of big change that's coming for a while, and it kind of didn't, like... It looks different, but it doesn't look like a massive reboot of the franchise. It looks like the kind of natural next step for the franchise, so that's good. I wonder how it affects everything, especially as Assassin's Creed has had a year off, but... I don't know, I was hoping for maybe something a little bit more drastic from the year off. Yeah,
I know what you mean. And, like, it doesn't necessarily look different enough, I guess, from the other games. I don't know, like, I think for me, personally, what I would have wanted more than this is just for them to focus on the story.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Even if it was maybe not a fully cinematic trailer, but I want to see more story before I see gameplay is the thing. We kind of, at this point, know what gameplay is going to be like in general.
Right, like, we've seen and played enough Assassin's Creed games to know basically what it's going to look like. We've talked many, many times, and one day we'll actually get into it, about how Assassin's Creed is probably the best story ever told in gaming. That was just squandered by the way that it was handled and the way that the franchise deviated from story and narrative thread to story and narrative thread. But this didn't tell me how that fits in. It didn't tell me where it fits, and it doesn't tell me what I'm going to be doing or why I should care. Like, Bayek looks cool, and his world looks cool, and his game looks cool, but I care about Assassin's Creed for a very particular story. And maybe it's time I stop caring about that story and be willing to give it a go for something else. But it didn't tell me whether I should or not. I
think you have to also look at it like, if you remember the reveal for Assassin's Creed... which one is it? The one after Brotherhood.
Revelations?
Yeah. Do you remember the reveal trailer for Revelations?
Yeah, the one with the really great music and Ezio climbing up all the stuff. And
getting hit. Like, it showed... That's what I want to see from an Assassin's Creed game, you know?
Yeah, totally.
That's what I want them to lead with, is to go like really big depth, big story, big like important characters. You know, from this we kind of got like you go and kill some people, but we don't really know what you are.
There's some bad dudes, and you kill the bad dudes.
I think that's something. One of the big things that I had a problem with in some of the other Assassin's Creed games recently, like Unity, is that there wasn't enough of a push towards the bad guys. It didn't really feel like there were like many of the missions would just be like, "There's a bad guy, go kill the bad guy." Okay, you know.
Yeah. So that was Assassin's Creed. That was a big reveal. Then the next big reveal was PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which is coming to consoles, as was discussed by the developer, but it's now an exclusive to the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
I mean, awesome in a sense. Kind of a shame that this isn't going to the wider player base, that people will have to play it on. Like, it's awesome as any exclusive is. But I think it's a really good pick for Xbox One. They've supported this kind of early access development before, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I
don't know, like, just quickly, I'm in two places about it, because ultimately, like the people who play it on PC aren't going to be rushing to play it on Xbox, I don't think.
Yeah, but then there are people like myself who know about it through...
Of course. Yeah, okay.
Like Achievement Hunter and stuff, and actually I'm more willing to pick this game up. But like, I play with some people on Xbox One, and I could see, you know, getting together and having a couple of nights of playing this.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I think you've turned me around on that, actually.
I know what you mean. There's nobody who's like playing it online now who's gonna pick it up. Really, there might be a few people who prefer it on console, but they're going to be like a niche. But yeah, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean.
Like, I guess the people that are watching it are going to be the target audience. People like yourself who don't own a PC are going to be the target audience. For
I think the target audience is the people who know about it because of online streamers, no matter what platform they're on. And actually, I'd say the target audience here are people who are going to be on a PS4 and like, oh, I can only play this on an Xbox. Well, now I need to pick an Xbox up. But I don't know whether that's a good enough reason to have it exclusive, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess it's the only reason Xbox need, but it's kind of a shame for those people. But it's the same argument as Tomb Raider and the same argument as Arkham VR or whatever. The same argument you can throw against any exclusive. Luckily, there's not many of them this time around.
Yay!
Oh, we'll talk about that in a bit. Actually, this is one of the strongest sections of the conference for exclusives, because then we got onto Deep Rock Galactic, which is such a dumb title for a game that actually looked quite good. It had a very kind of witnessy, cartoony art style. It looked like a sort of light horror game, if that makes sense. Like, it's not horror in a scary way, but it's horror in like a dark imagery, dark lighting, creatures kind of way. Yeah,
so it kind of looked like, you know, you're going into caves. It looked like they were stressing it being sort of 4-player.
Yeah.
So I think there's a 4-player kind of system going on. Different classes and that.
Yeah.
You're going into caves, spelunking, fighting loads of spiders.
Nice word.
Yeah. Fighting loads of horrible spider things and digging for treasure.
Yep.
Yeah, it looked kind of cool. I could see myself playing it.
I don't really know that I could see myself playing it too heavily, but it looked fine, and it looked diverse, which I'll give them. It looked really like something they don't have already, which is really good.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like something new, something we haven't seen before as much.
So then we got on to State of Decay 2, which was given a really big push. The trailer looked probably the best of any trailer revealed in this conference. It was super polished, super Walking Dead-y, had that very kind of survivally, gritty, adulty tone. And actually, State of Decay 2 is probably the one that I would say is the most likely to give Sony a run for its money. A, because it's an underdog. I think it could be a kind of sleeper hit. But B, because the kind of world building and story building that State of Decay can do, as proved by the first one, is quite strong. And I think State of Decay 2 could build on that in a really meaningful way.
See, that's quite interesting. I mean, I haven't played State of Decay, so maybe that's why I don't come to it from the same angle as you. From what I saw of this, the previous trailer gave me a lot more reason to play it than this one did.
Really?
This one looked like I really am not interested in it in any way.
Oh, wow.
It looked like generic zombie game, except you've got 4 people. And in fairness, it had some cool like base building stuff in there, and maybe that's kind of its unique thing. But from my point of view, it didn't really grab my attention at all.
That's fascinating.
I've played plenty of zombie games and I have plenty more to play, but yeah, I'm sort of done.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I would say, in my opinion, this is absolutely one of the stronger franchises that Xbox has got up its sleeve right now, and if they build on it and they give it the kind of push that it deserves, and they build on it in a strong way, this could be a really good contender for them.
Because so for me, like, it just looked like Dead Rising, but with base building.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think the tone set it apart to some extent. I think the Walking Dead
I guess that's probably fair to say. Yeah, it is more Walking Dead than Dead Rising, but
and I think that Walking Dead tone really fits State of Decay because it's more about the world and it's more about the interplay of the characters, especially with this kind of 4-player dynamic that they're building. It's not a proper MMO, so like it's not properly interconnected. It is a closed multiplayer game, so you can't. Some of the kind of character dynamic stuff won't carry over in the same way that The Walking Dead will have, but it could here, and I think that's something that Microsoft know, and I'm glad they know it. So from State of Decay 2, we got onto Minecraft, and actually Minecraft had some really cool announcements. The big announcement was the community marketplace, which is Microsoft's way of unifying Minecraft, and they really do mean it this time. Whatever device you play on, PC, mobile, or PS4 or Xbox One, or you've got to assume Switch in this case, you will be able to play with each other. They are unifying Minecraft into a single player base.
So, but this won't include the Java version, right?
Yes.
So this is the Xbox Store.
So
version.
this is the Windows 10 version of PC Minecraft, which is a good caveat here. If you've played Minecraft and not updated to the Windows 10 version, I don't think you'll be involved in this. I couldn't speak for them, but I don't think you'll be able to do this. Nonetheless, the fact that there is a way to do it on PC is really good.
No, I mean, I'm not disputing that. I just, like, I know that on PC there's a large difference in the audiences.
Yeah, that's true. And then they talked about the Super Duper Graphics Pack, which is like a 4K Optifine upgrade of Minecraft. It looks like there's lots of mods online that give them very cinematic lighting setups and give them very overly rendered lighting setups, and this is well, that's kind of what this is. This is the very heavily rendered look, but made playable and made stable, which is really cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool. And like, you know, on my PC I played with this kind of stuff before. And getting stability is a very big thing for it. So that's cool. Yeah.
Then we went on to some Eastern games, which was really cool. So Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball fighting game that was announced earlier this week, was given a bit of depth to it. There was another trailer shown, I believe.
Yes, and as well as some gameplay. Looks cool. I mean, Dragon Ball is well suited into this kind of fighting game style, so that's something that, as someone who is kind of a fan, I'll be interested in.
Yeah. Then we got the Korean MMO Black Desert, which was that was a launch exclusive, wasn't it? So it will be a timed exclusive for the Xbox One.
Yeah, and this is something that is one of those games that I think will do amazingly well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like, so you have to look at it like there's loads of these games do amazingly well, despite them not being big games. You know, like the most popular MMO right now is called Sword Art Online.
Yep.
Like, you never hear of it, you know.
Or if you do, you're super hardcore engaged into the gaming community.
Yeah, so like this could be one of those, and I think it is already quite popular on PC, so it's coming to Xbox, I believe. Like, you know, it's being more ported over to the Xbox.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think it'll do quite well. The only thing is with this, and the interesting thing, I guess, of like rounding up this whole you know, Japanese and Korean game, is that Microsoft doesn't tend to do this.
Yeah, it was really nice to see them go for an Eastern audience. I was kind of surprised. There was a leak earlier today about Monster Hunter. That was like I believe it was Monster Hunter Worlds or Monster Hunter Online or something like that, which was heavily leaked, supposedly in line with the Xbox One. I'm kind of surprised we didn't get anything from that. Like, it's probably now more aligned with the Switch in terms, like, we don't know what it is or if it is anything. So if it is going to be something, I'd say it's probably more aligned with the Switch. But I'm surprised we didn't see it. I thought that was a fairly good bet for it.
Because so the thing that I find strange about Microsoft going for this market is that Microsoft doesn't like really sell in Japan, so it's not something that's a big push for them. And like while Monster Hunter is popular, it's still way more popular over there than it is over here.
I mean, they've got to make a push for those markets somehow, and they know that they're not going to be able to compete in the terms of the big AAA franchises because Sony has enough money to buy those outright.
Yeah.
And it basically does. It basically has most AAA games as exclusives in terms of Japan and Korea and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So I mean, like, you have to put yourself in their position. Like, why would they be exclusive for the Xbox?
Because they get money.
Well, I mean, like, as in, like, Microsoft's going to have to pay them a lot of money when you're, like in Japan, Sony has, I think, 3 times as many consoles.
I mean, I'd be surprised if it's not even more than that.
Yeah.
But this is how Microsoft builds a brand over there, and I'm glad that they're investing money into doing it.
Yeah, true.
I just wish it made it look. I wish it looked more like they're investing as much money in first party, but we'll talk to that in a minute. Then we got the reveal of an indie game called The Last Night, which looks amazing. It looks fantastic. It looks like kind of 3D backgrounds with 2D 8-bit pixel graphics foregrounds. Very Blade Runner-ish, very neon sci-fi. Not really sure what the game's about, but it looked amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm always dubious with these. No, I'm never a big fan of indies. I like indies, but I always worry about every single indie having some sort of wanky story.
I know what you mean.
And with a game like The Last Night, we're probably going to find out about what happened last night.
Maybe, yeah. I'm kind of down by that. I kind of prefer that to Anthem.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that at the end. My God, will we talk about that at the end? Then we got another indie release, another indie reveal. This one's super, super weird. It's called The Artful Escape, and it had a guy in kind of a hand-drawn art style playing guitar to defeat creatures. I don't get it. It kind of looked... like, I want to say that the closest analog is Brutal Legend. But even then, it's not.
I mean, like, there wasn't really much in this to show that it wasn't just a press right game.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of looked from the trailer like nothing.
It kind of looked
really
like
happened.
the music sections of Rayman, so like the Black Betty sections of Rayman, just with less charm and less Rayman. So it didn't appeal to me in any particular way, and I think that's fair to say the view. Then we had Code Vein, which was Code Vein had a sort of gameplay trailer.
Yeah, they showed us some of the gameplay. They
showed a gameplay trailer of Code Vein and what the game actually is, and I got to say, I'm more impressed with it now than I was. It looks quite near-ish.
Yeah, no, I think near is the really obvious comparison to make, because it did look like a near game. But yeah, I mean, I hear what you mean. They showed a few more elements in there. They showed a few more kind of detailing it a bit more than what we saw earlier. But I don't know. I'm on the fence of it as well.
I really don't think it's right that it's using any kind of Souls marketing, because if it's Souls-esque, it doesn't make it a Souls game. There's something drastically different from Souls in style to Souls in name. And I hope they don't run that name into the ground, especially with From Software moving on from them. Like, the only people who have any control over this now are, as far as we can tell, Bandai Namco. And I worry about what Souls will become if this is how it's being used. Then we moved on to Sea of Thieves, which looked actually really cool. We got a very, very in-depth demo which went over every kind of system, well, not every kind of system in the game, but major systems in the game. So the kind of stuff you'll be doing, looting treasures, the kind of gameplay that you have of actually running the ship, the 4-player interaction, the monster combat, so on and so forth. I think our general thought on this was that it looks really cool. I just don't know what the driving force in playing it is. Like, we compared it to The Division in that it's very much about looting stuff, it's very much about working together, it has a team dynamic, each team has a different class, and those classes do different things, and they run the ship in different ways. Like, it's very much that 4-player open world discovering things and looting things dynamic. But The Division had a big drive for it. Like, The Division had a very clear story plot, and you can understand why people would want to keep progressing in that game. I don't see what there is to progress in with Sea of Thieves. Like, it kind of seems like the next thing you do is just pirate more. And
yeah, I hear you totally with this. I think, it does seem like there isn't really a big driving force forwards. In this trailer, they showed off like, we went to a place, we got some treasure, and then we, went off and tried to escape and go back to some sort of island. But like in that, they showed it being quite open worldy. It kind of looked like you can just kind of travel wherever you want to go. But yeah, it didn't seem to have much of a focus on like a drive. I'd go as far to say that it looked like it was possibly procedurally generated, which...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which probably... I don't know if that would be good or bad for it, because, like...
That would worry me a great deal.
I'm not a big fan of procedural generation, to be honest with you. It's whether this game has enough... I mean, I don't want to say that it's got it, but it's whether it's got enough to push it forwards, even without procedural generation. It has enough to keep you wanting to play.
If there's enough content and enough interconnection to make sure that content drives you to the next piece. Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, then we got what I think actually to be one of the big punches that Xbox took this conference round, which was that it's not out this year. Which is a massive hit, because we expected this year's exclusives to be State of Decay 2, Crackdown, and Sea of Thieves, and now one of those is gone. So that's really rough. I hope that this is not one of those kind of games that keeps getting pushed, but I could kind of see that happening.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, it feels like if you compare this trailer to last year's trailer, it feels like we're trying to constantly add stuff to it.
And I don't think they look drastically different. And I think actually this trailer...
I think the theme's very different, though. The last one didn't have... Like, the last one was focused on combat, but it didn't really have this big focus on exploring or, I don't know. We've seen a lot of it, is what I mean. And, like, it doesn't... I don't think the image is quite consistent. I think it's like... I feel slightly more consistently about it than you, but it worries me that they haven't been able to show what the driving force in this game is. And the reason it worries me is because I have to wonder, do they have it yet? Yeah. Have they built the systems that make the game fun to play, but not built the overarching game yet? I guess, yeah, we need like a story trailer if there is a story. I mean, if the game is exactly, right? And if the game is a year out at this point, that's kind of enough time to build a story for a game. We know that lots of games build their story in the last stages. So, like, production happens first, you build the assets for the game, the systems for the game, then you build the story, not at the end, but you build the story closer to the end. And I'm kind of worried that that's what's happening here, but much more publicly. Yeah, I mean, like, the thing as well is, like, you compare it to something like No Man's Sky, for example, where it wasn't enough, Yeah. Without that driving force, we might not want to play it. So, I don't know. Like, the thing is, I could see it doing well if it has it, but then if it doesn't, like, I could see it being quite easily not a flop exactly, but quite easily being one of these multiplayer games that ends up not really having anyone playing it shortly after. Having a short shelf life. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Then we moved on from Sea of Thieves to Tacoma. Yay, Tacoma! Tacoma's really awesome from what I can see, and I have total faith in the development team behind it. Shout out to Steve Gaynor. Tacoma has announced to be out on August the 2nd. I believe it has some kind of Xbox launch exclusivity. I think it's a timed exclusive or something like it. They announced that last year, I feel like.
But yay, Tacoma. Go play Tacoma. It's probably going to be really good. Then they announced another Xbox console exclusive, which was a sequel to Lucky's Tale. It's called Super Lucky's Tale. It's a 3D character platformer. It looked very, very family friendly. Weird that this is the only Xbox console exclusive. Like, honest to God, really weird, because like they're making a big thing of putting everything on Windows so it's play everywhere, and you can understand why. But why not put this on Windows? Like, who is it going to harm? It's probably not going to sell well, and I understand that, and maybe that's the reason, because why put the cost out there of putting it on there? But, like, why not just not talk about it? Like, they made a big thing of going console exclusive, as though you're like, wow, this is something I cannot play anywhere else. Because why the fuck would you play it anywhere else? Like, it felt like they were just selling common sense there.
Yeah, and I think, like, they're trying to catch up on a trend, I guess. They're trying to, like, why would this be announced at E3? This isn't something that needs to be announced at E3.
Yeah.
And I think the reason it's been announced at E3 is because they're trying to catch up on Ukulele and, like...
and Crash, let's be honest.
Crash, yeah.
Crash.
You know, so they're trying to catch up on that, but, like, I don't know if people are really having the push for it, because, like... Ukulele was going to be this massive, amazing thing, and it didn't really live up to it. And I don't know if that's the game itself, or maybe it's just that we don't really know what we want as much.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's very true. Then we moved on from the sequel to Lucky's Tale to Cuphead. Luckily, it was just a very short gameplay trailer and an announcement that Cuphead is coming out on September the 29th. Finally, thank God.
Yeah, and it looked really good and really interesting. I really actually, as someone who, when I started, I wasn't overly interested. I think this trailer actually kind of, it's the fast action. They showed loads of different things going on. They showed loads of different ways the game's going to be played, you know, loads of cool animations and stuff that's going to happen. It drew my attention a bit more than what I had previously.
I love the look of Cuphead. This was the look of Cuphead. It was nothing more than we've already seen. It looked like Cuphead, and I'm glad that it's coming out finally. I guess there's not really much more to say than it's Cuphead and it's finally coming out, but that's something they needed. Then we moved on to Crackdown. And I really think they took a hit here as well. Crackdown was announced for November 2017. Firstly, 2017. Firstly, awesome that the game is coming out, especially as we've heard very little from it. So worrying that we haven't seen gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, like...
So worrying.
Exactly. I mean, you say we haven't seen much from it. I still feel like we haven't.
Yeah. They had a trailer which showed that the game was voiced by Terry Crews, and then they just had Terry Crews talking fucking buzzwords about the game. Like, he was just there doing his Terry Crews thing of, wow, here's guns and boom stuff and fight things and aggression.
To describe it in one word, American.
It just felt like Terry Crews doing what Terry Crews does, and it didn't really sell me on what Crackdown is. Then they showed a kind of gameplay trailer, but it didn't really feel reminiscent of the gameplay experience. It just kind of felt like...
I mean, they had you running across roofs and...
kind of shooting some things and picking up balls, but like...
Yeah.
Picking up orbs, I guess. But like, there was very little destruction in it. Like, there was very little destruction in it.
Considering this is a game that... I mean, literally last E3 or the E3 before that, the big focus was destruction. You can destroy everything. It's going to be amazing. Destruction. And then this one, weird lack of it. I wonder if this is us coming to reality a little bit.
I don't think this is us coming to reality at all. I imagine what's happened over the course of the last year is Microsoft have gone, shit, we don't have any games. Maybe we just make that Crackdown a kind of sci-fi shooter and put it out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So this is not so much...
This is
coming to reality, but them needing to do this.
This is not us coming to reality at all, because there is no way they've invested this much amount of time and systems to build a game that doesn't work. Like, we saw them building the systems for destruction in Crackdown. People have played.
Oh, yeah.
Before the stream, we were watching IGN's pre-show, and Destin Legary was talking about how he went hands-on with that Crackdown. Yeah, Crackdown is not what we saw today.
I can't speak for that necessarily, but I think one of the things that you have to appreciate is that the Crackdown that we saw back then, was pre-alpha, and it might have had the destruction elements, but it didn't have like the graphical elements or the big focus on like the characters and all this kind of stuff. So I think that's maybe it's possible that when we started to actually add this into it, the game became less easily, less graphically capable, less able to run it. I think I can kind of see where you're coming from. I can see the idea that this is, we need to release a game, and I get that, and I could probably agree with you.
I think this is Crackdown 3, not Next Gen Crackdown.
Okay.
And that's fine, and I might play it.
I don't know if it's fine, though.
I think it's fine in as much as people wanted Crackdown, and I think it probably will play like a Crackdown game. But I don't think it will play like the big revolution they talked about. And I may be totally wrong. Maybe we see gameplay of this in an hour's time and it looks totally different. But the sense I got from this trailer was this is more controlled and contained than we wanted it to be.
Yeah, and I think it depends, man. Because I mean, like, if this comes out and it's not what people, if it's not as big as they've been selling it, that's going to be a big problem for them.
It is. It's very true. Then we got a big indie. So Crackdown's out in November. I believe we discussed that, but Crackdown is out in November. Then we got a really big reel of lots of indie games. I can't particularly recall any of them to mind, but there were a lot of 2D side scrollers, a lot of kind of what you might consider kind of indie canon fodder. That's a horrible term.
There's a few MMOs in there. Path of Exile.
There were a few. Yeah, that's true. There were a few MMOs as well.
Popular.
Then we got the rumored Life is Strange prequel, focusing on, I can't remember which character it is off the top of my head, but focusing on one of the characters in a younger state rather before the original Life is Strange happened. Cool, not exclusive in any way. Don't really know why this was revealed on Xbox stage other than to reveal something.
Life is Strange is an interesting one. I think we said this before, but I still don't really know whether it's the time powers or the story that attracted me to that game. And I'm still not like 100% on it. Like, I like the story of that game, but I also like the time powers of that game. It's kind of not quite sure where I stand on it.
Right, I know what you mean. Then we went on to Shadow of War, which had a very long gameplay demo talking about how they've evolved the Nemesis system this time around.
So I guess the thing here is that we didn't see too much new from what we've seen. The big difference, I guess, is that the Nemesis system now has, as far as it looks, unless it's a story mode, it seemed like now when you when you kill someone, you get them to join your army, you now have like a proper conversation with them. If you interrogate someone, you have a proper conversation with them. So it's kind of, they're expanding player interactions and stories with other characters, and that's something that I think will do quite well for them. It's something that a lot of people liked in Shadow of Mordor, so it's something that will be received well. But other than that, I mean, this trailer didn't really show us much more than the previous trailer that we saw already.
It kind of cemented the gameplay. This is a Shadow of War game, a Lord of the Rings, Shadow of Mordor game, and this is the sequel to it, and that was fine. Obviously, Shadow of War was one of the big ones where Xbox got marketing, and so they have a really big Scorpio push. I don't know, if you liked Shadow of Mordor or are interested to play it, you'll probably still be. If you weren't particularly, it probably didn't do much for you. That's I'd say a fair summary of it.
Yeah.
You're really shaking your head because you're trying to get me to play Shadow of War.
It's a good game. Well, Shadow of Mordor is good.
No, I'm sure it will be. And like, if there's nothing else to play this year, then I'll honest to God give it a go. But if there's nothing,
well, I think
if there's nothing else to play this year, that's more a dire take, in my opinion. I'm hoping there's third-party shit. There's Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. Give it some. If there's nothing more to play, I'll give Shadow of War a go. But this trailer didn't make me want to play it any more than the original trailer did. Then we got a gentleman playing piano on stage.
Yeah.
Microsoft.
So everyone's had live music so far.
Let's
keep this going.
Microsoft, please stop with this awkward stuff. We don't need it. Like, this is a conference announcing games. I don't know how PlayStation do it with the live orchestras and don't make it feel cheesy. It's probably because they use it as a supplementary thing to reveal games. It's not the focus. We didn't need to see the guy... Anyway, whatever. They revealed Ori and the Will of the Wisps. The Will of the Wisps, I think, sorry. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Cool to see a sequel to this game. Ori and the Blind Forest was a really a sleeper hit for Microsoft in the first instance. And it's really good that developer's still getting support and still being given an opportunity. The game looks gorgeous. Like, it looks like an oil painting.
Yeah, definitely.
And I am more tempted to pick. I didn't pick up Ori at the time for a number of reasons that I won't go into, but I'm much more tempted to pick this game up. I think it looks absolutely stunning.
Yeah, definitely. And now I do think something that you didn't actually see is that it is still kind of quite sad. It is still kind of focusing
really?
on being if you rewatch the trailer, you'll see what I mean. But yeah, there's still a focus on it being sad. So I don't know.
Okay, I'll bear that in mind. But I'm more tempted now.
Yeah, and I think one of the it does look gorgeous. I really enjoyed Ori. And hopefully it still manages to differentiates itself enough, because I think since Ori and the Blind Forest, there's been quite a few games that have kind of followed in a similar vein. So hopefully, I'd like to see it work for them. It's something that's well deserving of it.
Absolutely. Then we got a really big announcement, which was awesome, that backwards compatibility is expanding to original backwards compatibility, so original Xbox games. Awesome, great, cannot wait for that. Really good to see more backwards compatibility. The more the merrier. Still wondering how they're going to do this, because I can't imagine many people have original Xbox game discs. I can't imagine they work particularly well. If I had to put money on it, I'd say this somehow is tied into Xbox Game Pass. But I don't know. They said we'll talk about it more later this year when the feature releases. So I guess we'll hear more about it then.
I think one of the things that would possibly maybe even make me pick up an Xbox One is if it was tied to your Xbox account. As in, like, obviously your Xbox account records the games that you've played, so
yeah, I guess.
So they could be like, but then again, I guess that wouldn't quite work, because then that doesn't mean you own the game.
Also, you would have had to play every original Xbox game online, which was not a really big push.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay, maybe that's a fair point, actually.
So I do think they're going to have to make these games available in a very different way. We were saying maybe they treat them like PS2 classics and sell them cheaply, but that seems kind of underwhelming.
Well, especially because, like, it doesn't really feel like backwards compatibility in that case.
Yeah,
it's very much
at that
something
point,
else.
You're just paying for a port. Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but I'm glad to see that it's there. And then the final big thing, so then they talked about the Scorpio, it's $499.
Yeah, so what's your opinions on the price point?
I don't know, they kept talking about how it was a premium console, right? And how it was...
Actually...
Sorry.
We should leave this to the end. We should come back to it.
Okay, we'll come back to this. That's fine. So then the final big thing was Anthem, which it turns out is not a Titanfall game. It's just got people with jump packs and mechs for no fucking reason. Honest to God, whoever is in the marketing department for EA must be just smashing their head against a desk right now. Because
we have to say that Titanfall 2 didn't receive good marketing either. So
no, but somebody within BioWare came to EA and they were like, "Hey guys, I've got this great idea for a game that we're making. It's like it's sort of like if you took a guy with a kind of jetpack, and then there were like these big robot things, and at that point everyone at EA should have just turned to them and said, "No, fuck off," and they work on the next thing. 2 points to make about this. I don't understand why it's not called Titanfall. And I know this sounds silly, but Titanfall is a brand that people like. It's not sold amazingly well. It's not sold, it's not sold well, and it's critically still got a ways to go. But people know it. And if this were branching out in that sense, if this were Titanfall something else, it would build that franchise in a way that doesn't happen as much anymore. Franchises don't do that unless you're Nintendo, and we need those kind of franchises back. This should be a Titanfall game, even if it's in name alone.
Yeah.
Secondly, when I heard about this game originally, when I heard the rumours about this game originally and heard about its codename Dylan, I was like, oh, okay, this is a game that's going out to try and be something different, a game that's going out to try and be revolutionary in that sense. This is The Division with jump packs.
Yeah, it is very literally The Division with jump packs.
And and I don't know whether it's a case of lots of developers have similar awesome ideas, and so you get lots of clones of the same thing, or that The Division was revealed and lots of people were like, wow, we should make a game that does that better because that'll change everything. It doesn't work like that. And this will not be the Bob Dylan of games, even if it's the best version of The Division there ever is, because it's a version of The Division.
Yeah, so they even went as far to make it, to copy pretty much what the Division trailer did, which was have very scripted, this is...
We're coming up on Objective A, sir, blah, blah, blah. Like,
yeah.
the kind of stuff that you'd never actually get on Xbox Live or PSN.
So we're talking like people doing like real cooperation, people doing slight role play, people doing like all of this. No, that never happens.
Never happens.
Definitely not. And I think it's interesting that they went with that style, especially after like we know that it didn't really work for the Division.
Right, like this kind of thing has been tried and tested and failed before. Like it didn't help Ubisoft in any way sell the Division. The Division is successful, but it didn't help. It wasn't the thing that sold it. And I don't know, it left me feeling lackluster.
Yeah, especially because like I think one of the nice things about having a small teaser trailer and then coming out with something else is you really can build up the hype here. This was like the hype train hitting a brick wall.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of hype built very suddenly, and then it wasn't particularly impressive at the end.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Scorpio's price?
So, Scorpio's price. I guess one of the big issues is that over here it's going to be 500, but maybe slightly higher now.
It'd probably be 450.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Maybe 470.
Okay. I don't really know. I mean, it's not enough that I think people who have... Okay, so from what we've seen at this E3, with the improvements, with the 4K, that's great. I still don't think it's enough for me to make you go out and buy an Xbox One X. Like, so if this console really is the revolution of gaming, this is the console that's going to set the world on fire, whatever. I don't know, whatever marketing we need. This is the power of the X.
Experience, true, whatever the fuck.
Like, the problem is that one is that 4K is fairly niche anyway.
Yeah.
It's still fairly niche. Like, the problem is that there isn't really enough after that to make me want to go get it. Like, even I don't know. Even if I had a 4K, I'm not certain actually. If I had a 4K TV, maybe, but like, there isn't enough drive. Like, even if you argued in terms of processing power, for example, like that's the thing the Xbox One does. Now, while 4K and all that is involved in processors, the real thing that you need to show is why Crackdown is better on the Xbox One X. Why you need the power of the Xbox One to play Crackdown.
It's exactly the problem that they were always going to have, in that you can't show why the Xbox One X is better because you have 12 million or however many million Xboxes they have out there, and you don't want to go, hey guys, you bought the wrong machine. Like, you can't do that. You need a reason for people to still play their Xbox One, but at the same time, you're now selling a $500 box, and people need a reason to play that $500 box. Phil Spencer's talked all year about how this is a premium console for premium users, and that is not a particularly premium price point, in that I would consider that the average price point for a new console.
Yeah.
Like, a premium price point to me is like $600-700, where at that point they're taking a risk and saying this is something you're only going to buy if you're super engaged.
Yeah.
Whereas right now it's like, we couldn't get it to 400, so we went close. Like, this is a mistake Microsoft has not learned from yet, and maybe they couldn't learn from it. Maybe they couldn't get it lower, but I think they should have got it higher.
See, I don't know if many people will agree with you on that. I don't know. I don't think there's an appetite for it being much higher, because I mean, if it does get very high, like, the question of is it worth it becomes so much more. The higher it goes, the more that question becomes important.
But we can straight up answer that question already. No, it's not worth it. And I don't mean that in a cynical way, but like, if you are the average consumer going out this November, your choice is between a PS4, which has the bigger user base, a PS4 Pro, which upscales to 4K, which is like, 4K is, as you said, niche. Like, there aren't many people who are going to be going out and getting this purely for its 4K capabilities. So a PS4 Pro, which is far cheaper than this, and as far as you're concerned with your 1080p TV, does the same thing, Or there's the Xbox One S, which you'll play the exclusives if you're really into them for that, but you're probably not this year. Or there's the Scorpio, which is £500. It doesn't do anything for the average user, and by average I mean 1080p, not 4K. It doesn't do anything for an average 1080p user that an Xbox One can't, other than super sampling, other than more stable frame rates, which is good, but like, more stable frame rates are not worth £300.
Speaking of frame rates, though, I can't help but feel that we dropped the 60 FPS line. Slightly. Like, the big push before was 4K 60 FPS.
Yeah.
This is what it is. Through this E3, I don't know if we even heard of FPS.
No, we heard true 4K on everything, but that was about it.
And that's also potentially, I mean, not worrying, but it is worrying in the sense that maybe we're going to find that it's not as powerful as they kind of went with, you know.
This whole E3 conference to me felt like Microsoft not learning from their mistakes. Like the car on stage, not learning from a mistake. The guy on the piano, not learning from a mistake. Talking over demos rather than just showing stuff, not learning from a mistake. Long, drawn-out gameplay trailers when actually sharper trailers makes more sense, not learning from their mistake. Price points, not learning from their mistake. Talking about specs, not learning from their mistake. And this was their one to win.
Yeah.
Like, so badly. If they had come out and hit those reveals like PlayStation did last year, they could have walked away from this fucking solid. But it occurs to me now, and it should have occurred to me earlier, but it occurs to me now, and it will occur to many, many people, I think, as a result of this. They just can't. And it's not that they're not wanting to, it's not that they're not trying to, it's just this is not their generation to win anymore. What they need to be doing now is building games.
Yeah,
What they need to... So they've been putting shit tons of money, and it's obviously clear they've put shit tons of money into the Scorpio. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to call it the Scorpio for the rest of its life. I don't care what letter you put after it. To me, it's the Scorpio. They've put so much money into the Scorpio, because of course they have. They've built a 4K console in a year and a half. This has been a major investment for them. It's probably not going to pay off. Sorry, Microsoft, it's probably not. Please, for the love of God, build studios, buy talent, hire people, give people an opportunity to build games, because by the end of this generation, if the only thing you have to talk about is 4K, you have no chance going into the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fully with you. Like, stop closing studios. You know?
Yes, God, yes.
And
let's be clear that we don't develop games. We don't work for Microsoft. We have no idea what kind of cost benefit is involved with any of this. It may have been so much better for them monetarily wise and those people involved to close Lionhead. But what have they got in its place? Nothing. Like, Turn 10, Playground, cool. The Coalition, cool. 343, cool. Rare, cool. Sony have studios that you can list off for days, and then the ones you can't remember the name of. Like, Sony's conference this year, whether it's as good as... Like, even if it's not as good, it will be full of games that we didn't know about.
Yeah, but I think...
The couple of games we didn't know about developed exclusively for the Xbox One here is Lucky's Tale. That's it.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that is worth mentioning is that, like, in terms of the Sony conference, and I think we disagreed slightly on this, but I think that even if they showed us what we know is coming, we know there's a lot more coming. You know, and... Well, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely things on the horizon that are bigger than what Microsoft's got on the horizon, I would argue. And I think that's a big issue. And I think one of the other problems is that, to me, this shows that Microsoft just have nothing for the next, 3 years. Maybe 3 years is harsh, but the point is that, if next... I don't know, Sony's got a style where it shows things that aren't coming very soon, and that's something that they do, and it's now really starting to pay off for them.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's probably a fairer way of putting it. Now, if Microsoft is just showing what they've got now, that's fine, but then I don't really think that they've got other stuff ready.
It is worrying, because I don't know, this time last year we knew Crackdown was coming, we knew Sea of Thieves was coming. I don't know what is coming now.
Yeah, one of the good things you can look at Sony for is that, yes, they do these E3 where they talk about things that are 3 years in the future, but or longer, but like we know that there's gonna be more games on the horizon. What's gonna happen in a year's time for Microsoft?
No, you're totally right. And yeah, you're worryingly right. I think I came into this wanting to know what I was going to play this year, and I don't know anything more than I did already. I'm more worried about Crackdown. I'm more worried about Sea of Thieves, and and Scalebound is dead. Like, honest to God, it was. We
were meant to see something from Scalebound.
I really hoped we would, but clearly not. I mean, maybe that's next year. Maybe that's the only thing they have is Scalebound.
I mean,
but even that is clutching at straws at this point.
The other thing is that, like, EA made a big point of it being like, we're doing something very special with the Xbox One X, and that's this game Anthem. And for something that's kind of meant to be specially tooled for it, didn't really sell it.
Like, Xbox needed to prove this time more than ever that they have games that are not Halo, that are not Gears, that can stand on their own and that will build franchises. They needed to invest that money in new games, new franchises, new ideas, new partnerships, new studios, and I just don't see it. And I'm probably the most engaged Xbox user of all the people we know, of the people who contribute to Games Up, of the people who interact with it. And I'm the most disenfranchised I've been with it in a very long while. I love my Xbox One. I'll continue me Xbox Bayek. I love my Xbox One, and I'll continue to play on it. And I love the system. I think it's great. I love the console. I love the controller. I love what I bought into. But this conference more than ever has made me think I bought the console that failed this generation.
Ooh, that's rough.
I bought the console that is better for me. I don't like the PlayStation 4, but I bought the loser of this generation.
I feel you. Okay. Yeah, and I think this is the thing. I think, if this is all we're getting for the next year, 3 exclusives though. That's the other thing.
4, I think.
If you include Lucky's Tale.
Lucky's Tale,
which is Cuphead.
PlayerUnknown, Crackdown, Sea of Thieves in early 2018.
What's Cuphead's situation of that?
Oh, Cuphead's console exclusive. It's on PC as well, and Forza.
Okay.
So I guess there's not a bad table of exclusives. There's just
but it's like, how many of those are games for you?
So the thing I think actually that needs to be said about this is, like, there were 22 games with some form of exclusivity. Like, there were 22 games that launch early on Xbox One, but I think this is a case of quality over quantity, and they don't really have quantity, but, like, you can have 14 tiny games launching exclusively, and it's fine. Or you can have God of War.
Yeah.
Sony don't have a game coming out every month.
Yeah, definitely.
They have one tentpole thing that they put everything into. And it's always been the case. Last year, Xbox had one game every month. Before that, they had one game every month for the last 4 months of the year. And they're putting it up against Sony's big franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
And because it's Sony's big franchise, they're able to just give it focus that the Xbox can't. And especially this year, Xbox, the focus is all over the place. The games feel like they're not ready. And as a result, the Xbox feels like it's underprepared to compete.
Yeah, and I think we differ slightly on this, but I think Sony has quite early bought into or they've been doing the Japanese gamers, and they've had a big kind of push this year, in my opinion. The first half of this year has been really good for Sony, and in it's their lineup is stronger than ever.
Yeah.
That's the thing you've got to look at, and it's we talked about it before, how it's so much harder now to look at the Xbox exclusive list and go, which of these are worth buying the console for. And you're right, they can release loads of games, but when it is up against Uncharted, when it's up against Yeah. Oh shit.
I know what you mean. When it's like when the AAA of Xbox is up against the AAA of Sony, it looks like the B team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the real worry is that I think for the big consoles, like last year, we knew these games were 2 years out. We knew that. What's 2 years from here now?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are kind of our closing thoughts. I'm going to make a closing prediction that I'm not too happy with, but I think is probably fairly likely. I don't think Phil Spencer's going to be along for much longer.
Really?
Much longer. Yeah. I don't actually think he's done a great deal for the console.
So that's very interesting, because I think that's very contrasted to an opinion that you gave me fairly recently.
Really?
Yeah. I think fairly recently you were singing his praises.
I think he has been far better at its messaging. I think he's been far better at its public profile. It means fuck all if there's no games to play on it, and there's no games to play on it.
Yeah.
But you've got to give, when they launched the Xbox One, they were at least able to go, here's Crackdown, here's Scalebound, here's Quantum Break, here's these major investments in major studios and major games. And I don't see that from Phil Spencer. I do not see that same investment. I see him saying on Twitter, we've got the best investment. Yeah, we're investing in everything. But it's not here. It's not here where it needs to be. And multiple games have failed on this console and died on this console. I can still see games potentially dying on this console. That's not good leadership.
Yeah, and I think...
Now, maybe the architecture for the games, maybe the kind of roadmap for Xbox going forward is well led, and that's great. But I don't need to see that. I'm not an investor in the Xbox, though I may sound like it at times. I'm not an investor in the Xbox. I'm a consumer, and I want to be shown things I want to consume. I'm not buying fucking shares in the thing. I'm playing games on it.
I think the other thing is that from this is that there's nothing here that is going to keep the internet. I don't know. Maybe you feel different, but I don't feel like there's anything here that's going to keep the internet talking for days.
Yeah,
and
probably.
That's something that Sony has done so well, and it's what we wanted to kind of see from this. We wanted to see
from
my
Xbox
God,
to learn from that
something,
Yeah,
and we haven't got it. I'm not even going to say we didn't really get it. We didn't get it.
We didn't. That's a real shame. That's a real shame. I guess it's Nintendo's year to win now. Maybe. And even then, it still feels like it's Sony's year to win, which is actually painful to say. Those are our reactions to the Xbox press conference. Perhaps they're overly negative. We haven't looked at much of the feedback from the conference. We kind of immediately got down to recording this. If you've listened to it, thank you very much. If you've put up with me whinging and whining about, my console isn't good. Thank you very much.
Don't go that far.
Wow. It's not really, though, is it?
I want to give you a hug.
No, the third-party games are great, but that's not...
Yeah, I've interrupted your ending now.
No, go for it.
They should have made a bigger deal about it looks best on Xbox One X.
Oh, I really disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole point
I think if that's all they have, which is all they have, but if that's all they have, it's a sad testament.
Okay.
Honest to God, fucking invest in some studios, please. Please. It can't be hard. It cannot be this hard to make a game, because literally every other studio at E3 is going to have a game that looks quite good and world leading.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds ridiculous, but you think about Ubisoft, Far Cry 5, EA, fucking Anthem or whatever, or Battlefront 2, Sony, probably Bloodborne 2, God of War. Everyone else doing a press conference, hell, even Devolver in their own circle will have something that leads that industry. Xbox are the only ones so far this year who have presented everything that looks like a B movie.
Yeah.
The B movie equivalent of games. How hard can it be to make the A movie equivalent of games? And it can't be Halo anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, maybe it can be Halo anymore, but I sure as fuck don't want to pick up Halo 6. I wanted kind of to pick up Halo 5 and I didn't. What would make me drive to pick up Halo 6? There needs to be something new. There needs to be something smart, innovative, and a way that makes the market change a bit. That makes the market consider what's popular, that's doing something different, and it's just not.
Yeah.
a little bit more whinging and moaning. Thank you very much for listening. If you did, we greatly appreciate it. If you did listen and you liked it, we'd absolutely love to see you support the show. If you feel so inclined, you can subscribe to it. If you are on YouTube, you can subscribe to it. If you're on iTunes, and you can like it and review it and all those platforms, we'd love you to do that. Also, we have a Facebook page. We post a usual podcast every Monday at 6:30 p.m. and we have all our E3 coverage going up as we do it. So go and have a look at the Facebook page where we also discuss like gaming news and stuff, and we'd love you to be on there. Thanks very much for listening. We're probably gonna have a little nap now before the next conference. Maybe a little bit more to drink. Drown my sorrows in the lack of Xbox exclusive games. Fuck me. Until
what
the
if
next.
Bethesda is better?
How could it not be?
I don't know.
Fuck me. Until next time, the game is well and truly up. Where's the fucking stuff?
I do feel for you.